Hi, everyone. Welcome to part 3 of my series called Applying the Wisdom of Chinese Medicine. And in part 3, we're going to be talking about detoxification. So welcome. My name is Dr. Jeffrey Lee, and I'm one of the naturopathic doctors here at Brio. And recently, we've just been getting a lot of emails from all of you, from patients, just thanking us for the content there and having some special requests. So I just want to say thank you for interacting with us. Thanks for sharing these posts with family and friends. And in fact, right now, if you are watching us, click on the watch party, and so more of your friends can hear about what we're doing. So actually, today was a busy day working with a lot of patients, just doing a lot of virtual consultations. And yeah, it's still, I have a number of my patients who are still under just a tremendous amount of stress, and it's still a very, very difficult time. And actually, on the opposite end of the spectrum, I have a lot of my patients who are doing quite well. They're really taking advantage of this time to up-level their health. So I'm also very encouraged by that. So I hope these videos here are supportive for you if you're struggling through this time, and I hope these videos are just a challenge for you, just to help you take advantage of this time and be a lot more proactive. So my goal with this 6-part series is to have you, well, number one, I want to share with you just a lot of the wisdom that Chinese medicine offers, and I'm trying to present it in a way where it's easy to use, it's actionable, it's practical. So I hope, I hope you can at least pick one healthy habit out of each week and just apply it. So today I'm super excited because we're talking about detoxification, and just to give you kind of a heads up of what to expect is I'm going to be talking about some teas that are involved in detoxification, very simple, that you can be taking. We're going to be talking about moving the lymphatic system. And I know Dr. Nitu talked about that as well. So I'm going to share with you a little bit from my perspective. And then we're going to talk about like natural air purification, especially at home there. So that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to unpack that over the next 20 minutes or so. But just a quick recap from last week. Last week, I talked about mental health and TCM, and please check that video out or go to our website. And just a quick recap, I talked about the Schizandra herb, the 5-flavor berry. I talked about body expressions and emotions. I also talked about surrounding yourself with something that brings you joy, and do that regularly, do that daily. And then also something that I needed to communicate to myself was just setting boundaries. So that's what we talked about last week. And let's get started on detoxification. So detoxification is something I get asked all the time. And I just want to start off this presentation by communicating to you that I don't want to encourage you to go and pick up any detox kit that's at your local health food store, because I think there's this misconception that if I start taking a bunch of laxatives and I'm clearing my digestive system out, that this is a true detox. And in fact, that's not a detox at all. I just want to explain to you just very quickly that the liver is a very important organ that cleans the body, that filters the body, that detoxifies and gets rid of waste products there. And it's actually very complex how it operates. There's 3 phases, and there phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. And just to sort of give you an idea how complex this is, like what happens in phase 1 is this toxin that's in your body, it gets actually activated and it becomes even more toxic. Then in phase 2, it gets neutralized. And then in phase 3, this toxin gets out of your body. So a lot of the what you read online, like for example, I know what's trendy a while ago, take a bunch of olive oil with lemon and cayenne pepper, and that's a great detox. And in fact, it's not, because what happens when you're doing these kind of home remedies, or these kits at home, or from the health food store, you're not really properly going through the entire detox phase, and that can be actually a little bit dangerous there. So I just wanted to start my presentation talking about that. And if any of you have specific questions, and please make a comment there. I'm happy to answer this live there. And in fact, I'm going to keep today's presentation, again, pretty actionable, pretty practical, but I'm thinking in a couple of weeks, I'm going to go and do a much deeper dive into detoxification in my masterclass. So that's going to be up one of the upcoming Saturdays. Just stay tuned for that. And another thing is Dr. Vanessa and I are thinking of doing sort of a group virtual detox. So for all of you out there who are addicted to sugars right now, or just kind of stuck in a bad habit, or what I'm calling this quarantine bulge there, if you're gaining some weight there, keep in touch with us, because this is something that Dr. Vanessa and I are planning on doing sometime in early May. So I just wanted to share that with you. Okay, so with all of these series, what I'm doing is I'm just starting by asking a few questions there. And if you go to my summary page at the end of this presentation, I'll be adding more questions. And I'm hoping that these questions, you can treat it like a journal, just to have sort of a self-assessment of how you're doing. So today's toxic load health assessment, these are the 5 questions. Do you use makeup, cosmetics, body lotions, or laundry detergents that are not all natural? Number 2, do you have recurrent yeast or fungal infections? Number 3, do you suffer from skin rashes or hives? Number 4, are you experiencing fatigue or sleepiness for no apparent reasons? And number 5, do you have indigestion, nausea, bloating, constipation, or even diarrhea? So any of these gut health symptoms there. All of these can be kind of attributed to having a toxic load in the body. Okay, so what is detoxification? Our bodies are equipped with this amazing self-cleaning process. And I'm just going to geek out for a second here and just talk a little bit about how each of our organ systems work. And I'm just going to highlight just a few of them. But in my practice, I treat a lot of skin issues. And I explain this to a lot of my patients, where the skin is sort of like a backup system. It's called a secondary emunctory, where our primary emunctories, this is where we're talking about the liver, the kidney, the lungs. And the function of the primary emunctory is to get rid of toxins. And if those aren't working well, the backup system is the skins through sweating there. So what the liver does is it gets rid of fat-soluble toxins. Our kidneys get rid of water-soluble toxins, through urine. Our liver actually dumps it out through our bile. Our bile gets it out through our digestive tract, and then we end up pooping it out. And our volatile gases, those are actually breathed out through the lungs there. So this intricate system of cleaning out the body, and combined with our immune system is responsible at hunting down kind of dangerous foreign substances in our bodies. The combination of the immune system as well as all these organs, it's incredibly powerful how we can get rid of toxins and keep us healthy. Now, what is a toxin? And I think some things are going to be quite obvious, but what I might say might surprise you here. So what we call exogenous toxins, those are toxins coming in from the outside. And things like pesticides in our produce, formaldehyde in carpets and cosmetics there, phthalates that we get from our plastic containers, and then dioxins. And that's in all the toilet paper that we're all hoarding. No, I'm not hoarding, but some people are hoarding. We also have endogenous toxins. Endogenous toxins are kind of created from within. And the byproduct of cellular respiration or metabolism is we create toxins. And I'll give you an example. Like when we need to breathe out CO2, CO2 is a byproduct, but if we have too much CO2 accumulated in our body, that is not good. So we need to get that out. And for a lot of my athletes, I like explaining using this analogy. If you haven't, just say you haven't exercised in a while, and all of a sudden you start exercising really hard, the next day you're incredibly sore. And that soreness is a built-up of lactic acid. So lactic acid is considered a toxin. And again, if we don't clear it out of our system, it can cause pain, it can cause soreness. So there's outside toxins and as well as inside toxins there. Now, so why do we need to detoxify? And what I've observed in my 15 years of practice is with us kind of compounding how like there's more and more exogenous toxins that are coming. There's more of a toxic load. There's more pollution out there. There's more waste products thrown in our environment. The more that's increasing, as well as combined with our diets with too much sugar, too much caffeine, too much processed foods, too much stress, and not enough movement or exercise. Like this bombardment, it overwhelms our body's natural ability to clear waste products and to detoxify. So we end up becoming really sluggish there. And so that's one of the reasons why it's so important to detoxify. And a common question that I get is, how do you know if you need to detoxify? And often I'll start by asking my patients there, are you experiencing fatigue, memory decline, difficulty focusing? How about allergies and infections? What about your mood? What about irritability, anxiety, depression? Problems with your weight. Sometimes you can't gain weight or sometimes you can't lose weight. Muscle and joint pain, those are also very common. And then definitely like gut symptoms, constipation, diarrhea, abdominal bloating, indigestion. When I run like a survey or a quiz or a questionnaire with my patients there, I often see that most of us now in our modern day culture, we have a lot of these imbalances there. So what is the Chinese medicine approach for detoxification? And one thing I really appreciate about TCM is it's really a whole body approach there. And it's really in intentional lifestyle that we're minimizing the waste products that are coming in, we're maximizing the nutrients, and then we're really helping and to make sure that the avenues of elimination are working properly. So that's a really holistic approach with TCM. And again, there's no magic pill in Chinese medicine for detoxification. So I said to you already in the beginning, we're going to explore 3 different areas to get into detoxification. So one of them is teas for detoxification. We're going to talk about the lymphatic system, and we're also going to talk about just natural in the home. What can we do with air purification, for example? Okay, so detoxifying with teas. We know a big part of the Chinese culture, and actually, if you look at the rest of the world, tea has been around for for thousands of years. Tea is a big part of refreshment, but also a big part of nutrients there, and getting phytochemicals there. So tea, and you've heard me say the word phytonutrients or phytochemicals, and that's just plant nutrients there. And those are super, super important. And you heard me talk about, what I'm taking in my own diet. You heard me talk about, creating a more alkaline environment there. All that is thanks to phytonutrients, these important natural chemicals there. And it's those phytonutrients in teas that are actually really important in that phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 of the liver detoxification that I was mentioning earlier there. So teas are incredibly powerful at supporting the liver, supporting the lymphatic system, supporting the digestive system. And I'll share with you some of the natural herbal teas that I recommend. Things like ginger tea, dandelion, chrysanthemum flower, milk thistle, hawthorn berry, or even turmeric. Those are all incredibly healthy herbal teas that we should be consuming regularly. And I want to share a story with you because I found this really interesting. This is about 2 years ago. I was at a lecture and I heard this researcher talk about his research in the Amazon. So you might know that there is a tribe in the Amazon that has no connection with the outside world. And I think the Brazilian government has made it a real point to limit the contact as much as possible. And now they did have contact at one time to sort of study how healthy they are. So they had taken a blood sample, they had taken a poop sample to assess how healthy these people in the Amazon are. And it was quite spectacular what they discovered. So they discovered that their environment, there's such a diversity of plants. And the diversity of plants, so their diet was so broad with so many different phytonutrients there. So the diversity in their diet led to a diversity in their gut, into their gut health, and then which led to just an incredible robustness or resilience in their immune system, in their overall health. So what they discovered is in where they're living, they ate so many different species of plants. And what that actually provided them was they had such a diverse species of probiotics, the microbacteria in their gut. And when they took their stool sample, what was amazing was there was these species of probiotics that they didn't find anywhere else in the world. But they were kind of distant cousins to other types of bacteria that are found on the African continent, or that was found on the North American continent or the Asian continent. But the bacteria no longer exist in our modern day culture. So they had such a diversity in their probiotics that led to this diversity or led to this incredible health. And so when they ran genetic tests, they ran blood tests, they didn't have all of these cancer markers or these, they just had amazing health. And the conclusion of this research, or how the lecturer explained it to us, is diversity matters. So us eating a lot more, a variety of foods matters. And I did this experiment with my patients last year, and some of you watching this might remember this, but I was like, take a look at what you're eating. See, are you eating more than 30 different foods a week in your diet? And I participated in this, my patient participated in this, and it turns out that that's really difficult to do. We're creatures of habit or comfort, and we're always kind of eating sort of the same things that we enjoy eating. So what I challenge my patients to do is, hey, over this next month, try to eat a diverse amount of food, like different types of foods. And this is where I said, try different types of vegetables that you haven't tried before. Try all these different spices, because that counts as well. And I did this experiment in the fall, and during the fall time, I just had people experiment with so many different spices when they're making their soups and their stews. And then in the springtime, I said, hey, please try all these different vegetables that you're just not used to eating, because variety matters there. And it all comes down to phytonutrients there. So I want to draw that back to what I wanted to present, where herbal teas are another way to add this diversity in your diet. And the diversity and the phytonutrient matters to your general health, but also to detoxification. Now, number 2, we're going to talk about moving the lymphatic system. And I think both Dr. Nitu and I think possibly Dr. Vanessa also talked about just moving the lymphatic system. So what is the lymphatic system? And I like to call it this hidden sewage system of the body. And to compare it to our cardiovascular system, in our blood system, we have a heart. The heart pumps blood, and we get blood circulating throughout our body. Now, in contrast, the lymphatic system, we actually have many liters of lymphatic fluid in our tissues, but we don't have a heart that pumps the lymphatic tissue. Lymphatic fluid is the byproduct from cellular respiration. So each individual cell, when it does what it needs to do, it will build up some toxic waste. Remember, I talked about things like lactic acid or CO2. That little waste product gets dumped outside of the cell into this extracellular matrix. And the extracellular matrix eventually kind of combines and becomes our lymphatic fluid. And how we move our lymphatic fluid is actually through exercising or movement there. So all throughout history, you'll see people doing different types of movements, whether it's like Tai Chi. More modern, you hear people doing rebounding, just kind of simply bouncing using gravity, or even some of those vibration machines, because all that is able to move lymph. So again, lymph is the toxins or the waste products that gets dumped out of our cells. It gets collected in the lymphatic fluids. When we move, when we exercise, we move the lymph along, and eventually it does get dumped back into our circulatory system through kind of the upper thoracic area, and it gets into our bloodstream. And then once it gets into the bloodstream, that's when it goes to the kidney. So our kidneys can filter out water-soluble toxins. Our liver can filter out fat-soluble toxins, and then we breathe out any of the toxic gases through our lungs there. So two things with the lymphatic system. I really encourage you to stay hydrated. Drink plenty of water, because that's really important to flush out the lymphatic system. And in Chinese medicine, we talk a lot about fluids and fluid dynamics. And I don't know if you've ever noticed, but in traditional Chinese medicine, they really discourage from drinking a lot of, cold water, because cold tends to slow things down. It kind of stagnates things. So Chinese medicine usually encourages to drink warm teas or drink lukewarm water or hot water, because there's an added energy to that. It's easier to digest, and it's easier to help flush toxins out of the system there. So remember, stay hydrated, avoid the cold water as best you can. And then also, studying Chinese medicine, you'll realize that part of the daily practice for a lot of healthy, older Chinese seniors, especially the ones that live past 100, one thing that we really observed in our research is they exercise regularly, and it could be as simple as walking. But more often they'll do, Tai Chi, they'll do deep breathing, but simply walking. The researchers showed that seniors in China that lived over 100, they would be walking at least 30 minutes a day, and most of them would be walking about 60 minutes a day. So I encourage you to just start slow. Aim for 20 minutes a day. That's completely doable. You can, if you're stuck at home, you can just go up and down the stairs, walk around the house, or even better, if you can go outside and get some fresh air and just, do a 20-minute walk and build your muscles, build that resilience there, and then eventually add more and make that a daily habit. Now, let's go on to number 3. So number 3 is what I'm calling natural air purification. And my thought is this, and I now that we're home more often, wouldn't it make sense for us to keep our air as clean as possible? So basically what I'm talking about is natural air purification with indoor plants there. And indoor plants are incredibly powerful at cleaning the air. And some of the things that need to be cleaned out. So we're breathing out CO2, and plants will take the CO2. But another thing that I want to highlight is something called the VOC. VOC is volatile organic compounds, and those are toxins that are just around our house. So it's the off-gassing from like our furniture, or building material, from paints, wallpaper. Even our electronic devices. I just saw Caroline's message. Thank you for saying hi. So these VOCs, these volatile organic compounds, they're getting released throughout our homes and our offices, and this is not talked about often, but these are important toxins that we're exposed to all the time. And even if you Google VOC, you'll find that even on Health Canada website, they have a huge list, and they go into a lot of details about different toxic substances. So one solution to that is indoor plants. And I'm again going to geek out for a moment there, but I just wanted to show you this book. Now, I think in Facebook Live, the image gets reversed there, but this is called How to Grow Fresh Air. And it's written by Dr. B.C. Wolverton. Now, I don't expect you to read this. I've done all the reading and geeking out on this, so I'm just going to share with you some practical tips there. But Dr. Wolverton, he's a really interesting guy. He was part of the Air Force. He worked for NASA, but his mission in life was to figure out if there isn't, like, he was tasked to see through NASA to see, can we be viable? Can we live like on the moon or on Mars with live plants there? Is that supportive? Oh, good question. Do cut plants help? Very good question. I'm actually going to share with you a few specific species of plants there. For a limited time, cut plants do help, and I actually think it's quite powerful having cut plants. But some of these palms that I'm going to talk about in a moment, they're going to be a little bit better at cleaning. I see that. Yeah, it might be a little bit harder to grow indoor plants there. Some of these species actually. Now, okay. I'm glad you're asking that question, because Dr. Nitu and I have this inside joke that we're actually honestly pretty terrible at keeping plants. But even with that, I've been able to maintain some plants at home. The mother-in-law tongue plant, like that one's almost like idiot-proof. Like I haven't killed that one yet. So what I'm trying to say is there's a lot of plants that are quite hardy there. And then part of my geeking out there, I have grow lights in my house where sometimes, especially in the winter time, I'll have like a special light bulb with a certain frequency, and I'll just shine it on my plants there. And then if you have more specific questions, I can go and answer that more specifically. But and everything is available, actually, to be honest with you, at Home Depot. I've got some of my indoor plants at Home Depot, and I've got special lighting that are just full spectrum lights that are perfect. And again, my plants have survived for years there. So I'm glad you asked that question. But I want to just read just 30 seconds of Dr. Wolverton's work. He writes here, "How pure is the air you breathe? Plants are the lungs of the earth. They produce the oxygen that makes life possible. They add precious moisture and filter toxins. Houseplants can perform these essential functions in your home or office with the same efficiency as the rainforest in our biosphere." So Dr. Wolverton discovered that houseplants are the best filters of common pollutants such as ammonia, formaldehyde, benzene. And hundreds of these poisonous chemicals can be released by furniture, carpet, and building materials. And so And the concept back then was called sick building syndrome. And I do have a lot of patients who have chemical sensitivities. And by suggesting indoor plants, that has been a game changer for them. So some of the plants that that's recommended in this book include a lot of the palms. So erica palm, bamboo palm. An easy plant to grow also is English ivy. There's also the ficus plant, the Boston fern, and the peace lily. And don't worry, I will summarize all of these and I'll give you a list in my summary there. So just head to the website and I'll give you a list of that. But it really is that easy. I didn't actually believe it myself. But as soon as I started having more plants around in my house, even at work there, I really started noticing that the air wasn't as stagnant, especially in certain rooms there. So my home study there, I am limited in a little bit of light in here. So I actually have a system where in certain times I will have an artificial lamp there to make sure it has enough light, or I'll have the windows open there. So very easy. Now, again, I just want to quickly wrap things up there. We talked about a couple of things. So in summary, we talked about detoxification with herbal teas. We talked about, hydration. We talked about movement to move the lymphatic system. That's very important for detoxification. And then I also talked about just natural air purification. And again, I hope those are all practical and actionable things. And a super easy thing for you to do is just, social distance and physical distance, but go and pick up a plant. Go to Canadian Tire, go to Home Depot or something. Go to your nursery if it's open. Yeah, that's what I really recommend doing. So I hope that was helpful. I just wanted to say one more time that we are planning on doing sort of a group virtual detox. I'm still trying to wrap my brain around it, but I think if I can do it in this kind of setup where I can be available to just answer questions there. I have a program that I'm actually thinking about that I've personally used many times, the same with Dr. Vanessa, and we just want to support people. I heard people saying, hey, I want to get rid of my sugar addictions. I want to just help myself get out of brain fog. So stay tuned. If you are interested, just send us an email there or write a comment there. And then actually, and also if I think that this subject of detoxification is actually very, very important. I've been able to help a lot of patients just really improve their health by helping them go through a detox. So my intention is in the next masterclass, I'm going to be talking about the seeding phase of the Brio method. The seeding phase, and I've got a couple of ideas, and one of them is I probably will take a slightly deeper dive into detoxification. So if you have questions, you can influence what I'm going to be teaching in that masterclass. Just share your questions there. This is always fun chatting with everyone. So again, share this with your friends, and yeah, we hope that you stay healthy, and yeah, both your immune health and your mental health. Stay healthy in the next few weeks. Take care.